National parks are widely regarded as fodder for a scenic family day trip, but their true value goes underappreciated by the majority of the country. There are 63 national parks and thousands of state parks in the U.S., all of which serve an important role in the environment. Government agencies, mainly the National Park Service, are responsible for maintaining these parks, directly affecting the services they provide to us. In order to maintain these parks and their benefits, the federal government needs to support them. Especially between the urban and suburban areas of America today, national parks are an essential part of a healthy environment.
National parks are one of the United States' greatest gifts to the world. We were kind of the first to set aside land. It gives everyday people access to see nature, it connects them to it, it makes them want to protect it.
Our national parks are out there working for us every day. They are cleaning our air. They are providing habitat for wildlife species. They are helping us fight against climate change.
The benefits we receive from the land are immeasurable. These are called ecosystem services.
Ecosystem services is this idea that we rely on nature to do for us things like filtering water through soil, and what comes out is cleaner than went in. And there's actually a dollar value that can be associated with these services.
Ecosystem services include provisioning services, regulating services, and supporting services. These services cover the goods we get from the land, natural cycles like the water cycle and pollination, and the elements that are necessary for any ecosystem to thrive. What's more is the natural landscape has an immense amount of cultural value for the American people, not to mention that many of them were once indigenous homelands.
A lot of countries around the world, they're going to rely on their beautiful landscapes attracting.
They are places where we are preserving aspects of America that we see as really important to our heritage, to our natural resources, and to our national identity.
National parks have not only contributed $28.6 billion to the U.S. economy in 2020 alone, but research has also shown that there are numerous health benefits for those who visit. It's the reasons such as these that we shouldn't let the importance of our national parks go unnoticed. The significance that national parks hold for the United States culturally and for the overall health of our environment is more than apparent. So to what lengths has the government been going to in order to maintain these national treasures?
There is a tremendous amount of resource management that happens in the park. So that's both the planning, the long and short-term planning, but also the day-to-day taking care of the park.
A lot of people think of national parks just from what they see in these pictures, but they don't realize that there are people on the ground every day working really hard to keep them safe, keep them beautiful, and keep them healthy.
They're doing things like pulling trash cans, so they're not overflowing. And so as visitors, it's not gross to be in the park. A lot of litter cleanups, a lot of invasive plant removal.
The budget for the park department is currently $3.5 billion a year, which isn't enough.
Financially, our national parks, like so many other things, are always struggling.
Unfortunately, the budget of the Park Service overall, and Rock Creek Park in addition, has been static. In more than 20 years, they haven't gotten an operating increase, which means they're doing more with less.
However, budget isn't the only problem facing our parks. Many issues come from runoff and pollution, or simply ignoring park laws. Things like littering, vandalism, and poaching.
Stormwater runoff, of course, is what happens when rain falls. We get a lot of that in Washington State, and it flows across roofs and parking lots and streets. And as that rainwater heads on its way to rivers and lakes and bays, it picks up all sorts of toxic, nasty stuff like metals and oils and fertilizers and pesticides, just to name a few.
In our parks, trash is a really huge problem when you're walking around and you see just discarded bottles or masks or wipes and that kind of thing.
Habitat fragmentation is another big issue, occurring when large expanses of wilderness are broken up into smaller areas by development of highways, buildings, and other urban constructions.
We are realizing in conservation biology that we need a lot more land tracks connecting, whether it's a series of mountaintops or road bridges to connect these land bridges. There's little tweaks we can do to make smaller areas larger and to combat habitat fragmentation.
The staff at each park are tasked with counteracting these behaviors, but with only a handful of workers and up to several million acres, many of the park's problems go unresolved.
I think that there is a need for more resources. To increase the base operating budget to be commensurate with the needs would be just tremendous.
Additionally, the park budgets haven't changed for many years, failing to accommodate the growing needs of the parks.
You know, they love the outdoors, they're always in the outdoors, and at the same time, they assume that the outdoors are always sort of going to take care of themselves, and that may not be the case.
So how do we address this issue? How do we support the environmental system that we rely on, whether we know it or not?
There are so many things that people can do to support the national parks. People can get involved with volunteer activities on national parks. People can talk to and write their member of Congress to say, we want more parks, we want these parks better maintained and better protected.
It begins at a federal level with better government funding, more staffing initiatives, and stricter regulations on visitors when it comes to taking care of the parks. The federal government's role in maintaining national parks is critical to sustaining the ecosystem services that we rely on. In order to continue to thrive on the environmental and cultural values that they provide, we must invest in our parks.